Hi, I'm Richard Montanez, creator of Hot Cheetos and one of the passionate few.
Hey guys, welcome to this episode of The Passionate Few. It's your host, Omar here, and on today's powerful clip, we get to hear the top 5 keys to success from none other than the former janitor turned creator of Hot Cheetos, Mr. Richard Montanez. And if you guys want to hear his entire story, you can be sure to click here to check out the full interview I did with him about it. And also, I want to encourage you guys, if you want to start your own brand or maybe take it to that next level by creating your own YouTube show and collaborating with your dream guests, I can help you do just that. Be sure to apply in the description below and I can serve you there. But with no further ado, enjoy this powerful clip with Mr. Richard Montanez.
Yeah, and I remember my grandfather said, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm the janitor. And he said, you know, when you mop that floor, you make sure that it shines, that people will know that a Montanez mopped it. Then my dad said, listen to your grandpa. You know that I took that on? That when I started working at the plant and mopping the floors, because keep in mind that huge warehouse that I had to mop, I literally would hear my grandfather and I would like mop that floor and I'd make it shine because I wanted people to ask.
Yeah.
It was so shiny that people were saying, hey, who cleaned the restroom? It smells good in here. And, you know, who mopped the floor? It's shiny. They say that new janitor. And I realized, too, that old, you know, Bible verse that says, you know, if you're faithful in the little things, he'll make you ruler over big things. And I've said that many times is you can't be great until you become good. You know, be good at what you're doing, and then you'll go. Some people want to skip that good. They want to be great. Well, you're not even good at mopping the floor. You know, you're not even good at taking out that was my job.
Yeah.
And I remember friends would, you know, because you always got to watch out for the haters and you know, whatever.
Of course,
And I remember friends, I was so happy and I got the job. Well, what are you? Janitor. Like, oh, you're just a janitor?
Yeah.
And I said this, you know what? There's no such thing as just a janitor. When you believe in your heart that you're going to be the best janitor in the world, there's no such thing. No such thing as just a waiter, bus driver, valet, any of those jobs, if you believe in your heart that you're going to be the best. And I believe that today, you know, I mean, there's no such thing as just anything. As scared as I was, there was something inside of me that was greater than my fear. And people say, what is this? And I said, this is the antidote to fear. Get this and you'll not ever be afraid again. I was hungry. As ridiculous as I looked, as foolish as I felt, my hunger was greater. And I'm gonna just go with I'm hungry because I'm hungry for a different lifestyle. I'm hungry for a change in my life. I'm hungry, I wanna do something different. I'm hungry, I wanna be somebody different. I'm hungry, I don't wanna be the same person. And some people say, well, you should never change who you are. That's not true.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be that person no more. I wanted to be, I like who I am today. You know, and sometimes changing is also releasing who it is you're supposed to be.
I love that.
One Thanksgiving is my oldest granddaughter. I think you met her. Her name's Lexi.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. She was 5 or 6 at the time, and we just finished Thanksgiving, and they had always, my sons had always seen us, me and my wife, feeding the homeless on our own. We would make sandwiches and go out. You know, we weren't with a church or an organization. We just go do it on our own. It's like I tell people, what are you waiting for? You don't have to wait for the government or the church. Just go do it.
Yeah.
You got some bologna and people are hungry. I'll eat it.
Yeah.
You know? And so we used to do that. So my kids started doing that and started taking their children, my grandkids. And one day Lexi said, hey Mom, can we make leftovers sandwiches and go feed the homeless? And I was like, man, that just broke me. Like, wow. You know, it's a dream come true. That's my legacy.
Absolutely,
you know?
yeah.
It's my legacy. And so they did that. So the next year, my daughter-in-law made an extra turkey just for sandwiches. So we had our turkey, and then they carved that up and made, you know, a couple dozen sandwiches, went out. Well, the next year they made 12 turkeys, and we had something in a park where there was a lot of homeless, and we fed a couple hundred people. The next year it went to 500. So then the year, I think the third year, we got a stage, we got a sound system. We started to do
Wow.
we started to do things. We do back to school. We've given away like 2,000 backpacks at a time,
yeah.
full of school supplies. We do free haircuts. We feed everybody lunch. We give every family a box of groceries. Every kid that comes gets a brand new pair of shoes.
Wow.
You know, we started giving away sports equipment, and we saw that 5,000 people were, and this is just my family.
Wow, yeah.
So we had to get security, we had to get permits, we had to get
God.
porta potties, and we had to get cooks, barbers. But I realized it was a dream come true, because, you know, I said I didn't have any dreams, but I remember one dream in particular is when I was a kid, they didn't have food stamps. They gave you food.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I remember every Tuesday, I'd go with my mom to walking to pick up food. You know, and I remember they would just like kind of give it to you like.
Yeah, like just kind of throw it at you like you're one of many. Yeah.
And I remember that was always hurtful, and I just thought that someday I'm going to feed kids and people with dignity as a little boy.
Oh, wow.
You know, and you know, 40 years later, that dream comes true.
Yeah.
You know, we give everybody, we don't make them feel like they owe us anything. We give it to them with dignity. But it started because of my granddaughter and my grandkid, you know. And for other people who have children, this is the best thing that you can do. You know, I want them to remember this, is I knew this, is I wanted my kids to know what hunger was without experiencing its pain. How do you do that? Is by feeding somebody who's hungry. Because I know what it is to be hungry. I don't want my kid to know that. It's painful. But I want them to experience it in a different way so they'll know that what hunger is.
Day to day, what's it like being an executive versus, you know, your roles prior? Because I think a lot of people are intimidated by the thought that they too could one day become an executive, or that they too could, you know, participate in conversations and be of value. So what's been your experience seeing both ends of the fence? Is being an executive as intimidating as people aiming to be that would think it is? Is it not really? You earn your stripes. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, what's been your insight? What wisdom could you impart to people out there that think executives are this big intimidating thing?
Well, you know, when I was first coming up, you know, I always thought that executives didn't do anything. You know, it's kind of like,
yeah.
you know, they just said yes or no, and then I realized executives are some of the hardest working people you will ever meet. And I've seen different types. If you go back to the beginning of my career, before empowerment was introduced, corporate America was a command and control. So executives were hired and groomed to be, I command and I control. Do what I tell you to do. And then we come into an empowered, and I think it's even becoming even more where leaders have to be more inspirational. Said you're either a pharaoh or a deliverer. And what is a pharaoh? A pharaoh is a leader who takes people captive to build everything in their image. A deliverer is someone who sets people free to be everything they were intended to be. You're one or the other.
Wow, I love that.
You're one or the other. You cannot say you're not. You're either a pharaoh or you're a deliverer. And for every CEO that's running a Fortune 100 company, they need to understand that the pharaohs are dying out and we need the deliverers, because the best thing that you could do is help somebody to become a Richard Montanez, to be, the company benefited way more than I did.
Right.
And I found my calling, but my calling is beyond just, you know, my company.
Right.
It's opened so many doors. So, you know, it's a good time right now to be an executive, especially for the conceptual thinker, you know. Don't have to be the guy that, you know, 2 + 2, you know. I mean, I wanted to be the guy who's like, what's 2 + 2? You know, what do you want it to be?
Yeah.
You know, the conceptual thinker, someone who can take me into, you know, and I've said this too, you know, I'm the type of individual is that I want to see the things that other people can't see, you know, and I teach in my leadership workshops, be that leader that sees the other things that people can't see. Everyone else can see that. Everyone else can see that green. But when you get somebody who can see the green and there's purple in it and start painting, that's the person I want to hire. Because I started getting followers who had, and this is, very, very emotional, but I started to get followers that had children with cancer. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know this, but when they go through chemo, they lose their appetite. Mm. And doctors found that hot Cheetos would help them with that. So parents would buy their kids hot Cheetos, and I started to get tons of messages. Thank you, God bless you for. I'm like, what? Yeah. So for me,
that's incredible.
It ended there.
Yeah.
If there wasn't anything else, mm-hmm. that was, and a couple, I went and visited, I bought them a case of Cheetos and I bought them, but they would show me the pictures, and it was just so interesting how doctors discovered that the hot spices helped to
stimulate the appetite.
Yeah, so it was good for them. So that was like, such a joy to see that, And I think when you look at a God idea, mm-hmm. you don't know how big it is. If somebody said it's just like hot Cheetos, you just did. There's no such thing as just anything. It's huge, it opens up so many doors, and so I still love it.
And I can relate to that too, because even though like with our show, the reason that revelation came to me to interview people to a younger audience, it started out as a passion project. I had no idea that I literally get messages almost every single day from people in different countries that listen to the show, that were inspired. And so I can kind of relate to you on a micro level in that I had no idea, just like you had no idea, that the chips would help people dealing with cancer, and you would have messages from all over the world or people online. I know exactly what you mean about acting upon something that just feels powerful inside and the magnitude of it that you can't even imagine. And so it's amazing to hear that from you. In terms of legacy, what do you hope when people remember the story of Richard Montanez, past, present, and future? What do you want people to take away from your legacy?
I'm not, what I tell people, mm-hmm. I talk about my legacy a lot. And if you look up the word legacy, it's a word that, in the 16th century was used, in contracts. It was associated with legalities. It was a legal word.
Oh, wow.
It was, and the truth was a legacy was something that, today it's something that you will, mm-hmm. but a legacy, the word actually meant something that you gave. So for me, a legacy isn't something that I leave. Mm-hmm. A legacy is something that I give. And if you look at, some of the two greatest men that I've admired is, Dr. King and Cesar Chavez. Mm-hmm. Dr. King didn't leave a legacy, he gave a legacy. He mm-hmm. gave his life. The same thing with Cesar Chavez, is these men were givers. And that's what I want to be remembered in my legacy, is that I gave. Because the day that I'm gone, people will forget who created hot Cheetos. But that little girl who comes to my event and we bought new tennis shoes and a backpack, she will never forget. Mm. No matter how old, she'll be a grandma herself, and she'll remember that family that came? That's my legacy. My grandchildren who are now helping, with our charity, that's my legacy. My legacy is not, my bank account. My legacy is not in the things that I've accomplished. Mm-hmm. My legacy, I want it to be in the things that I gave. I want people to remember that I'm inspired giving. Mm-hmm. It wasn't about how many I spoke to, how many books or how famous. Mm-hmm. It's simple. My legacy is, I was a giver.
If you guys enjoyed that video, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now, because every week we bring you the very best in personal development content from some of the greatest minds on the planet. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, and also be sure to subscribe on iTunes for all the new content we have on the go. Make sure to check out the description below. You can apply for our one-on-one 90-day strategy session program to work exclusively with me one-on-one to help you get to that next level. Thank you for being one of the passionate few.